Welcome to Real Estate Real Talk with me, Skyleigh. I'm a realtor, coach, and founder of Forever Kamloops and Forever Kelowna Real Estate Groups and the creator of Elevation Real Estate, the realtor coaching platform. After nearly a decade in this industry, I've built a business that gives me more freedom, more income, and more time with the people I love. And now I'm here to help other realtors do the same. This podcast is for agents who want to build a thriving real estate business without burning out. We talk about scaling smart and building systems so you can buy back your life, because life shouldn't feel like all work and no play. And if you're a buyer or seller tuning in, consider this your backstage pass. You'll hear unfiltered conversations with top agents and industry pros, giving you the same insights we share behind closed doors. Knowledge is power, and the more you know, the better you can advocate for yourself and work with someone who truly has your back. Let's get real. I am sitting here with Hayes Hartwig. So thank you so much for coming onto the podcast. And I'm really excited to go over your specialty. I know that we had a little bit of time to catch up. And again, like I said, when we were not on the recording side of things, I was like, oh no, like we keep talking about things that are like so good for the podcast. I was like, I got to stop asking you questions before we dive in. I just wanted to give a little bit about you to our audience. You are a third generation dual licensed real estate advisor. And for those of you who do not know what that means, he has a license as a realtor and a property manager. So those are actually two separate licenses, which is amazing because anybody who's a realtor who's listening to this knows how long it takes to go through the course and how extensive it is. It's very cool that you went for two different licenses. You are currently with Coldwell Banker Prestige Realty serving Greater Vancouver, and you are really focusing in New Westminster, Burnaby, you said kind of Coquitlam as well. Cool. And then you have your certification for the Master Certified Negotiation Expert, which I do as well. And if anybody who's listening to this is a new agent, because this is mostly we are talking to agents who are wanting to grow their business on this podcast, this certification is amazing. Suze Cumming is the one who puts it on for the real estate board here in BC. I wasn't sure if there was any other person who was actually certified through our board to do that. Hayes also took it by Suze Cumming. And I want to dive into that a little bit more too, because there's so many things that I still lean on to today from that education that I had. So that's really cool. And then you also are a senior real estate specialist, which I also find amazing. I feel like there's not enough senior specialists out there. It's a really underserviced demographic of our market. So that is also amazing. You're gonna have to tell me your favorite parts about that. And you also are a host of a podcast. So yay. Happy to have a fellow podcaster on the call today. So thank you again for being here. Is there anything else? Is there anything that I missed? Anything you want to add?
Not really. I think you pretty much hit it mostly in there. Personal stuff, avid Whitecaps fan and whatnot for football and whatnot.
Okay, perfect. No, good to know. And then, just circling back to the negotiation course that you ended up taking. Because again, I think that it's like one of those courses that you can take and that it does serve you throughout your social circles. It's not even just real estate specific, but just in general, it's something that I have pulled from time and time again. And there's some courses that I've taken that you're like, I didn't really get a whole lot from that. And then there's other ones that I'm like, oh, I use this all the time. So now I'm curious to know, what was your favorite part of that course?
I think the favorite part of the course was just realizing that you need to have a plan if you're going to go into negotiations. It's interesting to see people who either haven't taken the course or are just generally not that strong with negotiations and seeing that they have no plan. Here's my offer, and I'm going to hope for the best, and then nothing to back it up and no reasoning and not bothering to listen to it. I think a lot of people fall into the competitive negotiators category because they do teach you about the different categories. Obviously, our easiest example is our fellow Orange man to the south. Very good example of a competitive negotiator where there is a winner and a loser. And that's not really the strongest method, to be perfectly honest, where collaboration is usually better because then both people feel that they're leaving with something. Little give, little get kind of thing. The other thing that I thought was really helpful with that is teaching just small nuanced things that you may forget, such as nobody likes to get rolled over. So I've explained that to some of my sellers and said, hey man, just give them the coffee table. You know what I mean? You're getting your price, you're getting this, you're getting your dates, you're getting all your other stuff. They've asked for one, just give them one thing that you don't care about. And that way they can, okay, I got my whatever. And I find it makes it for a happier closing for everybody, and everyone walks away content as opposed to just this all the time.
Yeah. And you know what? It's funny too. I always say that there's a line that I use a lot when it comes to negotiation when things are starting to get really intense. And a lot of times I'm like, okay, look, like I'm not trying to beat you up. Because a lot of times I feel like when people are starting to get agitated, it's because they're getting defensive because they feel like you're coming at them, even if you're not. So a lot of times I'm like, okay, I'm not trying to beat you up. I was like, we're on the same team. Like we both have a common goal. You have a buyer, I have a seller. At the end of the day, we both have a common goal of selling a house and like getting our clients from one point to the next. And so I'm like, my job is to service my client. Your job is to service your client. I was like, and there's no, like, we're not supposed to beat each other up and try and one up each other. The goal is to like, hey, this is the situation. How do we like put it together? And I think that was one thing that I took from that course. It's funny because I feel like people should probably have a course on emotional regulation for realtors. I'm like, if everyone could just be a little bit more emotionally regulated, like we're all going to be okay. It's all going to be okay.
As soon as you hear it's the principle, as soon as I hear that, I'm like, this means we're emotion and you can't logic emotion, which means there's really no much point to going much further with any explanations because it doesn't matter. I tell my clients all the time that you can't logic emotion. And a very simple example of that is everybody has been in one of those relationships where you're like, this person is bad for me, but I really like them. And you still don't leave. That's your emotion just taking over.
100%. There's actually a book that I have kids. Do you have kids, Hayes? No. Okay. So there's a book that I have read. It's called The Whole Brain Child. And even though you don't have kids, it's interesting to read and even think about for ourselves or even for our clients, for example, because you're right. Like emotion and logic are two separate parts of the brain. And when you get fired up, like your brain is like disconnected. It's almost like your lobes have split. And like when a kid is getting overwhelmed and they're upset about something and a parent comes to them in like a logical sense, being like, oh, it's not a big deal. Like you didn't even care about it yesterday or stuff like that. Then they just get more fired up because it's like you're talking logic to an emotion. So I 100% agree. I feel like emotion has to talk to emotion. Logic has to talk to logic. And if that's not able to happen, everyone needs to walk away, diffuse, come back. And principal costs money. Don't do that. Like lawyers get paid more money at the end of the day when people fight on principle because it drags it out. Principal costs money. People are so funny. But
I like that. I'm going to use that, by the way. Principal costs money.
It does. It really does. I heard that from a lawyer.
Fair enough.
I heard it from a lawyer because they were explaining to me the process of their clients. And a lot of times when they're dealing with separations and stuff like that, people are like, what's the principle of this and this? And the first thing that they said to me, they're like, as soon as someone says that, like you said, they're like, principle costs money. So it's like, you can fight on principle, but at the end of the day, you're not going to win either.
It's going to cost.
Cutting your losses sooner rather than later is better, or like defusing and coming back.
Oh, absolutely.
So then what had you going in for the senior real estate specialist as well? Obviously, the things that we gather in our tool belt to be able to help our clients are things that we're interested in and that pull us. So what is it about being a senior specialist that kind of drew you there?
Well, one of the when I first started, to be perfectly honest, because everyone had the little things behind their name. I'm like, a rookie with nothing. So I can take this one and get that, to be perfectly honest. But it also tied in because I'm a third generation realtor. So like I saw my grandmother get older. Even now my mom's in her 70s. So that'll be an application. When we deal with her clients passing down, that's what I'm talking to.
Yeah, you know what? There was something that I heard a while ago, and it says that your ideal client is the person that you were 3 to 5 years ago because you've solved that problem. So for you to have looked at it in the lens of like your grandma or like your parents, or even, and then you're like, how do you help them navigate that? And then now you're putting it into your business. It does make a lot of sense. And while, yes, you're like, I needed some certifications, again, you pick something that kind of like resonates with you, right?
Yeah, of
So
course.
very cool. So then, do you think that you spend more time working with like senior clients over other demographics, or are you more focused on property management? Tell me how you're splitting up your like hours.
I'm about a 50-50 between property management and sales. My business model, one of the reasons why I got the property management license is to work the full circle. So now I can help purchase your investment property, manage it, and then keep an eye on it so that when the tenant leaves, usually we'll give an update to our clients and say, hey, market's doing this right now. Do you want to cash out and make your 50 to 100K, or do you want to stay in for another tenant and build more equity and see where you're going from there? So it gives me like that nice full circle to never leave. Especially, it almost inherently builds in your follow up, because a lot of realtors are absolutely horrible with following up. So they make that sale, don't talk to them for 5 years, and wonder why they went with a different realtor afterwards. It's like they forgot about you, man. They don't know you. Whereas,
Yeah, 100%. I really lean into like my after sales process, and it's because I come at my business as a relationship model as opposed to a transaction model. And if you don't keep that relationship with your clients, people that you should genuinely care about, like if you don't genuinely care about your clients, then you're in the wrong industry.
yeah,
Like they shouldn't
absolutely.
just be like a number on your like chart. Like it's just, so if you're not putting them into an after sales process where there's touch points and nurturing throughout the, I don't even know what you call it after, but if there's not any of that, then how are you supposed to keep that connection and that relationship, which is the purpose of you having the business in the first place?
Yeah, like some people use the business model of just hit. So they're you should be lead generating, of course. But I know certain other realtors that basically they just hit and quit and they're perpetually looking for new business. I've been finding that obviously if you work with the people that already have used you and know and like you, why not spend the money on them as opposed to Facebook ads or Google ads?
There is actually a statistic out there, Hayes, that says that it's 10 times easier for you to nurture and earn referrals and have them be repeat clients than it is for you to be on the hamster wheel and find new people. Like the energy put out for new people is 10 times more than the ones that you have right in front of you.
Yeah, I'd absolutely.
It's crazy. And I love that you like leaned into that. I think, like you said, a lot of agents aren't really like that. And you obviously found a bit of a niche to lean into.
Oh, yeah.
So I guess my question for you then is that maybe you should be considering getting your like investor certification, and then now you're marketing to investors, and then full circle you're going to be helping them with the property management, and then you're going to be like full well-rounded like.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, it's funny with the finding the business. A lot of I also do with the property management, but also offer placement only, and that's been a gold mine for finding people, because now I have people who just want help finding a place to place the tenant, but what they've already told me is that you own two places at least. So you combine that with a bunch of realtors who probably don't follow up. They end up talking to somebody. They called me, so no big deal. Now they've seen I can do my job. I know what I'm doing. So I'm just going to stay in touch with you.
Yeah. So then, because now you're the point of contact for questions and needs along their journey after the sale is closed for the tenants, so that when it does come time to them finding a new investment or a sale and then investing somewhere else, like you're going to be the probably top of mind. Yeah.
Oh, exactly. As well as we always have like what my partners and I at Vancouver Rented is our rental. We're not allowed to say team anymore. Apparently BCFSA doesn't allow rental to be team, so we're yeah, they decided to tell me that in no uncertain circumstances. Which is weird if you think about it, because it's ongoing. A sale you sell and then it's done. Whereas rental, things keep on happening. If anyone needs a team, rental. But
Yeah, that's interesting
but
that
anyway,
they don't have that for that side. It's so weird.
it seems very
Yeah, no kidding. This is,
yeah.
yeah, I love the way that you rounded out your business. This is amazing. I didn't think about it when we were first kind of chatting about it, but yeah, for all the agents that are listening, this is I think it's very smart, Hayes. Very smart.
Yeah, it's a
Uh,
gold mine.
yeah, 100%. So then what are like the challenges then that kind of come along with having both licenses or trying to like manage both? Is there anything like difficult that you've noticed?
To some degree, I find that the rental side goes more. Like, we'll do 4 or 5 rentals plus a month. You're probably not doing that in sales because if you're owning private jets and stuff. I don't have one. So I find that it's difficult to balance a little bit because a lot of people just think, oh, you don't do sales anymore. No, I still do sales. It's just that the property management side is perpetually just going almost automatically. So as far as the business side, I have to like softly remind people like, no, I still sell to. I'm not just one. So there's that. And then on the client side, it can be challenging sometimes because not always there can be conflict in the property management side more than the sales side. You're dealing
Interesting.
with,
Okay. How come?
yeah, like, the ongoing, you hear about the tenant battles and stuff like that. It's not that common that happens, but it makes people sometimes uncomfortable. Just a difference of opinion or point of view, basically. And that can wash over into your client. Oh, why didn't you do this? But because it's illegal, that's why I didn't do that. You know what I mean? I can't just kick a tenant out because you're having a bad day. That's not how this works, type of thing. So it raises that, and a lot of the landlords are not up to date with the rules. And so sometimes it can cause a little bit of conflict, and you have to just explain that. Same with the maintenance thing. That's one of the ones that comes up a lot is, you'll be managing a place and things will break over time. Your 1998 home that you purchased with the original fridge, that fridge will die. And so when you have to call up an owner like, hi, we need to spend $1,500 to $2,000 right now. What are you talking about? Why? Because the fridge doesn't work. That's why. If yours broke, you'd fix it.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
100%.
a lot of times it's that problem there.
Yeah, I love where this conversation is going because I think that there's a lot of people in the industry that I like having an abundance of knowledge. And when it comes to things that I'm not a specialist in, I like to still have a little bit of information so that I can say, this is what I know. And then, but let me get you in contact with somebody who knows more than I do. And that comes for like home inspection stuff, that comes for property management stuff. So in me saying that, I want to ask you a handful of questions that I think will be really good for the listeners to hear. And that is about kind of the property management side, so that if somebody has an investor and they're trying to find a property management company to take it over after they're done and they're not dual licensed. So that being said, I heard there is a certain percentage that a property manager is allowed to spend on behalf of the landlord for maintenance items without having to really say anything about it. And then over and above that amount, it's, hey, we need to submit this to you being like, this needs to be fixed. So can you explain to me like what that is? Because again, I think it's good for everybody to kind of know.
Yeah, generally we have that written to our contracts because I don't want to be hassling the landlord over trying to fix a door handle or something. Right? So we do, generally ours is about $500, which is, we had to move it up because as with everything, things get more expensive, and to get a plumber to show up, it's 3 out of the chute. We go through that sort of thing, and we do also advise our landlords that it may have a waiver as well. If the plumber shows up for what we thought was a $350 job, and it turns out that it's a way bigger one, and it's going to go over that 500 mark, we try to get a hold of the landlord, but if we can't, we usually just say go for it, because otherwise we're going to pay for another call out. So you're paying in another $300 just because we couldn't get a hold of you. So your savings in the long run is better to just do the thing.
Yeah. So you guys have a certain amount that you're like, okay, we're allowed to spend this. Over and above, usually you have to ask for, which is, again, it's great because then it keeps the landlord's hands off of it, because that's why they hire you, is because they don't really want to be dealing with it on a day-to-day. So yeah, I really like that. And then is there a set amount that property managers charge landlords in order to manage their rentals, or does it change depending on what company you're with and what person?
Yeah, they all have different companies. Like I actually speak to a bunch of other property managers because I work more from a point of abundance than scarcity. So we all share each other's everything we're doing basically.
Yeah.
What's working for you, what's not. So everyone has their own different business model. I know some that charge upfront for replacement or half type of thing, whereas we don't. And then your management ranges, usually it's a percentage, anyways, I'd say from 6 to even 10% per month what the rent is. But these are all different and they're all different per property managers. It's a good just to set up what makes sense for you. The one thing that I have noticed that runs for most of them is it's usually 1/2 of 1 month's rent replacement. Almost all of them charge the same.
Got it. Okay. No, that's really cool to know. I wasn't sure if it was different per person, but same as realtors, we all run our own businesses. We all charge our own rates. So I wasn't sure if you could pick and choose your own rates. So yeah, it's really good to know.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And then, there was something else that was like on the tip of my tongue that you had said that I was curious about. Oh, for placement, obviously, this is the thing that most people probably know, which is that the landlord can hire you to find a tenant for their property. But something that I've had happening to me a lot, and it's just because my phone number is out there on the internet. I don't know if this happens to a bunch of other realtors, but I keep getting phone calls for people looking for rentals. I'm not licensed for property management. I know that I can help somebody find a rental, but at the same time, trying to charge somebody as the tenant to find them a place, it doesn't really work that way. I feel like most tenants don't really want to pay somebody to find them a property. So I'm wondering if that's something that you have ever done, or if it is a available business model that people haven't really explored, or if they have, like why it's,
It's one of those ones I've actually trying to crack that nut.
You've tried to what, sorry?
To crack that nut.
Like, I was brainstorming it. I was like, how do we like do this? But the only time I've ever heard of people finding tenants properties to rent when they don't want to pay for it is because it's a relocation company for a business that's paying for it. But when it comes to the tenant specifically, usually they're like, no, I'm not paying to find it. I'll find it myself. So I was wondering if there was like a business model that worked for it.
Yeah, it possibly would be. Like, I guess calling the ones that are doing it themselves maybe would do it. But yeah, it's a very different one. We get a lot of like those calls. Oh, I've got a client, usually it's from realtors. Oh, I've got a client, they're looking for this. Can you help them find a rental? I've only got my own stock. So, but the nice part is, as I said, I talked to a bunch of other property managers, which is a little bit unusual because generally a lot of property management side are lone wolf type. So we just send them back and forth. Like, I know guys who are working out in Langley and Chilliwack. I obviously don't. So I was like, I don't have anything, but let me call my buddy and see if he's got something. And if they do, great, go do it. Because I know that it'll eventually come back. They'll call me up and say, hey, you got anything in Surrey or New West or Vancouver? Yeah, hang on.
Yeah. I wonder, there's got to be something that we could come up with business model wise in that, knowing that's a problem and a hole in that part of the industry. I'm like, there's got to be some problem we can solve, but it's an interesting one to think about for sure.
Yeah, because I started putting rentals on. So maybe that might be, as it starts to get more full, would be a thing where you offer remuneration. So even if it's $200 or whatever, $200 for making a phone call is pretty good return.
Yeah, a lot of times when people call me asking me for rentals, I'm like, oh, I'm not licensed for property management, but here's a couple phone numbers for the property management companies. They might have something coming up in the future that their landlord said, hey, these tenants are moving out in 2 months or whatever. Like they could I'm not sure if you guys do that or not, but I'm like, they might have a list of properties that are coming available for rent soon. And if you're a highly qualified tenant with a really good kind of reference, then I think it would be smart for the property management companies or individuals to be like, hey, this is a really good person. If I had something, I would love to put them in it. Because obviously it's important to you to have tenants that are easy to deal with and have good references, are going to pay on time, because if they're not, you're going to also have to be the person to deal with it in order for them to be vacated.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So anyways, that's usually what I do. I don't know what other people do, but I don't know. If you have a suggestion for what realtors should do when people call them and say, hey, I need a rental, and I'm like, well, no, I can't do it. Let me know.
I generally call the property manager, see if they have something. If they do, if they don't, it's better than nothing. I try to do that. And it's funny too, because a lot of my properties that I have come from realtors. And one of the things that we do make sure is to note what realtor it came from. So that way, well, you don't want to steal someone else's client, right?
Yeah,
so,
no, 100%.
I manage it. As soon as that tenant moves out, I'll call the realtor back and say, hey, owner said they don't want to re-rent this, so maybe it's time for your monthly follow-up. Oh, we're actually thinking about selling. What a coinky-dink.
Yeah. I love that, though. I live with abundance, too. Hayes, like, there's so many people out there that are just, like, such a scarcity mindset, and they're so worried about all these things, and they're nickel and diming, and they're doing shady things, and I have had it proven to me time and time again that when I live with abundance and I give things away, it comes back to me so quickly. It comes back so quickly. I remember when I first got my... Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. BNI, the Business Networking International, what they're built on. They call it giver's gain. And you just give, and eventually it'll come back.
There is a book. It is called The Go-Giver by Bob Burg. I don't know if you've ever read it. If you have not, it is an amazing book. Anybody who's listening, it's the 5 laws of stratospherical success, and it's based on the more you give in value, the more you will get back. But if you live by giving in value, like it'll abundantly come back to you. But I had a quick story about this because I remember when I first got into real estate 10 years ago, I was working on a real estate team. There was 10 agents there, and we were all working on the same pay-per-click ad campaign funnel for clients to come in. So we all had our own back end of the site, and people would search like homes for sale Kamloops or homes for sale Burnaby or whichever, right? And they would all filter into the back. They would get divvied up. But a lot of times you get like husbands and wives or like parents and kids and partners signing up, and one would go to one person and one would go to the next.
Yeah.
So then you have 2 people calling for the same thing.
Same leader, yeah.
Yeah. And it had happened to me almost every single time. I'm like, you know what? You take it.
Yeah.
Like you take it. Because I don't know. I would never want somebody to be like, oh, like, I really need it. And so I'm like, you know what? You just take it.
Yeah.
And almost every single time I did it, there must have been some like reinforcing like dopamine hit I was getting, because every single time I did it, I would get almost a gravy A client come in after that. Almost every single time. So yeah, I love living with abundance. I think it's like the best way to go.
Yeah. Put good out and good come back.
So what tools and technology are you focusing on now? Like, how do you run your business? Tell us some fun tools that other people should know about.
One of the ones that we started using more is the virtual tours.
Is what, sorry?
But not virtual tours.
Virtual tours,
yeah,
cool.
Yeah, like Matterport, but I use a different one called the Theta V. It's a little tiny camera, like I can fit it in my back pocket. And it's great because it gives you that whole virtual tour thing. And then on the property management side, most people are not going to go pay someone to do a Matterport because they're expensive and host it and blah, blah, blah. Whereas this one, I own it. I can do it whenever I want. And so all of ours have that. And it really gives us a sort of leg up, because if I ever have to compete to get a property on the property management side, I'm offering this, they're not. So I'm already moving ahead already. The other thing that's beneficial with that as well is because we're taking the photos, and as I said, I work the whole circle. So if you have a tenant that doesn't want you to take photos because of privacy, their stuff, and they absolutely have the right to say no, and that's no problem, because I already have the stuff. So when I go to list the place, if the tenant doesn't want us to take current photos, no problem. I've already got a virtual tour. We can list it easy. So that's a great one. And purchasing the camera, I think it was like, at that time it was about $400. I think they moved it up to $5 now. One-time fee. So now I own a virtual tour. Easy.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. I was like, how much is one of those things? Because I feel like that's the cost. I wasn't sure how much it was going to be, but that's almost like the cost of having a photographer come in and do one tour anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So you own it, and now you can use that at will. And as I said, it's pretty small. A lot of times in the summer months, I'll take my motorcycle out there and just throw it in my backpack along with the tripod, and off I go, and done. So that's one of the ones that I quite like. We also use a digital move-in report, which is very helpful on that side because our writing has become pretty garbage these days. It all looks like chicken scratch. The nice part about this app is that it will take the photos and add it to a PDF that the tenant then signs and is emailed. So it has their signature and a timestamp on it, and it's in a nice PDF so you don't lose the photos, all that stuff. And of course, it's kept in the cloud. You basically always have your move out reports at your fingertips, which is really helpful.
Yeah, no kidding. So then you made a comment about tech convenience and human knowledge. So can you touch on that a little bit?
Yeah, I find that a lot of people have been leaning too heavily onto ChatGPT.
Oh, yes.
And yes, it does have a lot of benefit, but sometimes it gets things wrong. And when it comes down to it, having someone who's been in the ring before as opposed to studied it is better, in my opinion, simply for the fact that we get people who will send us things and say, well, this is the law for blah, blah, blah. And that's the law in Kansas, but we're in BC and they're different. So yes, ChatGPT did give you some legal advice. It's just not for here.
Yeah,
so
no, it's definitely scary for sure, because then people can lean into it. And you know what else I had noticed too? Sometimes depending where it pulls the information from, it's not a credible source, right? So you do really have to fact check what it's saying and make sure that you haven't directed it a certain way.
Yeah,
like it's not completely unbiased. Like you want it to be unbiased, but then at the same time, it's not always because of previous conversations you've had with it. It could go a certain direction.
Yeah, so, absolutely.
Yeah, I definitely agree with the human knowledge part. And
that doesn't mean I'm against.
No, I'm not against it either. I love it. I just think that we need to be careful.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, simple things like make this 800 characters so it fits on the MLS instead of your big long write-up. Great. I don't want to have to rewrite this whole damn thing counting letters. So that's more useful. Or breaking writer's cramp, where, writer's block, sorry. So I need 10 ideas to ask a plumber for my podcast. Bang. Okay, cool. Now I can work off this as opposed to just do my work. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't hire it as your lawyer is what we're saying.
Correct. Yeah.
Don't hire it as your lawyer. You can ask it some questions so that you have some knowledge so that when you go talk to a lawyer, you can be like, what about this? But don't replace it from people who actually have experience.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
So we only have like 10, 15 minutes left, but I had a handful of questions that I wanted to ask you because being a landlord myself, the laws and everything for BC and having tenants, all of that stuff, it's been a little bit crazy. And I'm sure that you probably have heard this from a lot of landlords out there. So I'm curious to know your perspective on kind of the changing landscape of tenancy law and tenancy protection and like how that's been affecting people buying and selling rental properties.
Yeah, it has concerned quite a few people. The pendulum has swung back the other way. I understand how we got here, but it needs to come back to the middle a little bit more. One of the issues to delve into the cases that come through the RTB, the residential tenancy branch, some of the results are mind-blowing. And you're just like, that has no legal, it doesn't make any sense. They also don't work on precedent. So you can have the same case twice and get two different answers.
That drives me absolutely insane. Because even when we were getting our licenses for selling real estate, it leaned on common law practice, which is like, what has happened in the past, you should be able to lean on in the future to know what the result is going to be.
Absolutely.
And if they're not going off, it makes no sense to me. And then how are people supposed to know what to do when you're not following precedent?
The thing too is that they always say, we release what happens in the cases and you can look up past case files. Why? It doesn't matter what they did before. So that's one of the, I think that's concerned a lot of landlords. That being said, though, you do have to talk to a lot of people who are investing, because you hear these horror stories between landlords and tenants, but you only hear about planes that crash as well. Of the horror stories you hear, there's thousands of other tenancies that are fine. So if you basically just avoid going to RTB, you should be fine. Like most of the time that I end up at RTB is just for things that we have to file for. Somebody didn't pay their move out fee, so we have to file at RTB to get that because the tenant either won't answer us anymore or whatever it may be. Like, that's just the way. You just have to go and file it. And it's not really a conflict. You go in there, if the tenant shows up and just say, hey, the move out fee was $250. We asked you to pay it. You didn't do it. We need to do it. Okay. And most of the time an arbitrator will be like, yeah, that's the bylaw, off we go. So it's not always a huge conflict. But yeah. So I guess as far as what it is for investors, don't be too afraid of the laws, especially because as long as you're not breaking them, it's not a problem.
Yeah. And I think as long as you have a really good interview process for tenants, I have been really, I want to say quote unquote lucky, but then at the same time, I also am quite good at reading people, and I check a lot of references and ask a lot of quality questions to see if the tenants are going to be a good fit or not. And I think the one time that I was burned, and I wasn't even burned that badly, let's be honest, for the exchange in value for how much the property went up in value and like the profit margins on a month-to-month basis, for the amount of loss that I had when she actually left, I still came out on top. Let's be honest. So
you gotta pick your
yeah, and the one time that ever happened to me was because I placed a tenant and I let my heart get the best of me.
Yeah.
And I let somebody move in that I didn't think was a great fit. However, she had a really good story and my heart got the best of me. And that's what has happened to a number of my friends as well. It's the ones where you place based off of emotion as opposed to like references and logic. So
absolutely. Yeah, I tell about rookies that if Belly's saying something, listen to it. There's a reason why your Belly's getting that, I don't know about this, just listen to it. Even though the numbers look good and all that, there's a reason why your inner soul is saying no.
Yeah, for sure. So the only thing that I am thinking, though, that the profit margins just aren't as good as they were before for having rental properties here in Canada, just with the price of real estate. And then like now that they've opened up saying that there aren't rental restrictions in stratas anymore, it's opened up an abundance of available units, which has made it so that the demand for units is less because we have more supply. So that being said, I do see a lot of people exiting investing here in Canada. Have you noticed that?
I've noticed more of it in the lower mainland. That being said, right now we have a lot of units on the market. I think those are going to get eaten up fairly soon. I actually just touched on one of my last podcasts about this, is that a bunch of the purpose-built rentals are taking occupancy. So there are buildings that are empty right now. But
so many.
Yeah, and they're going to get
so many
up
buildings that are empty. It's wild. Like even in Kelowna, they're saying that there's a projection of 3,000 available units in the next like couple years because they've built so many condos.
Yeah, exactly. So
thinking that they needed it, and now all of a sudden it's, oh no, now what?
Yeah, and so that's going to happen. I think they're going to be making changes again with the immigration, so more people start coming back to Canada. Other places in Canada, though, there are still some goods. Like I have a client, for instance, I actually went back with them to Moncton in New Brunswick, which is not usual vacation place. They do have really good seafood though. And like you can get some good stuff back there. You can buy both sides of a duplex for 400 to 500 grand, and they're renting out about 1,700 a side. So you can basically cover most of one side with the other. So as long as you don't have both empty, you should be okay. So there are still places to do it. Just it's a little bit more challenging. Also, in the Lower Mainland, you can do that as long as you get a good deal when you get in and understand that you're probably going to be dragging a little bit of money. But if you think about it, like if you're behind by 200, 300 bucks per month, multiply that by 12, 2,400, 3,600 a year that you're behind, which you can write that off, of course. Do you think your property is going to go up more than 2,400 or 3,600 in a year? Probably. So you will get that back.
Yeah. It's funny that you're talking about that too, because again, me having investment properties, there's a handful of things that I've looked at even when I've bought investment properties. And that's like, number one, are you going to get like positive cash flow on a monthly basis, or are you going to be breaking even or putting a little bit of money out of your pocket every month for it?
Yeah.
But I think a lot of times people look at it from a perspective of like monthly cash flow, and they're like, oh, it's only making me $50 a month profit. But then they're not looking at the equity that's being built in the home. And I think that's like a huge gap in the thought process around investing, because there's going to be some properties that are really great for monthly profits. A lot of times your monthly profits are really great though when you've held property for a long time.
Yep.
Like when you first buy in, especially with today's pricing and like the fact that the rental prices are dropping because of the available units, you might have to put a little bit of money in on your own. But even for me, thinking about that, I'm like, okay, what investment account in like mutual funds or stocks is going to give me a $1,000 deposit into like equity every month?
Yeah, exactly, right?
None. Like even if I put $100 of my own money every month, I'll take that for a $900 exchange for sure.
Absolutely. And the other thing too, looking at it as well, is like it's never going to go to zero. Blockbuster gone. Your stocks zero. Unless we turn into snails or something, people are always going to need a home. So even if the market tanks, you still are going to get something.
Even if, like, let's say easy numbers, you buy for $500,000 and then your tenants are paying down your mortgage, right? And even if you go to sell for $500,000, like you didn't make the spread here for appreciation, because normally you'd be like, oh, I made this much this year. I made this much this year. I made this year. Let's say, for example, that doesn't happen and your appreciation stays at the $500,000 for you to sell it. This part's still going down. Like you're not getting this, but at least you're still getting this.
Yeah. You still have a relatively investment.
Yeah, it's crazy. I love real estate for investing. I do believe everybody should have a diverse portfolio and have kind of money in different areas.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do feel like a lot of people are having a hard time investing here in Canada because the profit margins on a monthly amount aren't great, but the appreciation on things has been a little bit dicey. But at the same time, just don't sell when it's low and we'll be okay.
Yeah, basically, like that's the thing. You don't have to sell it. So just kind of ride it out. I know it's not like HGTV where there's a commercial break and you made $10,000. It's not how this works. It's a long, slow game.
Yeah. I know there's so many different like thought processes on investing. I sold a couple of my investment properties within the last like couple of years. And I don't know if I'm going to 100% reinvest back in BC, but Alberta is also a really good place to invest too, because they don't even have property transfer tax there. So yeah, there's so many different ways to do it. And if we have investor clients that aren't wanting to invest here, you and I both get referrals for sending them to quality people elsewhere. So you guys should still reach out.
Yeah, absolutely. I sent my client to Moncton.
Yeah, you did just say that. Funny. Okay, is there anything else that you think would be super important for us to touch on? Or can I just tell people where to find you to harass you about questions?
I guess the only thing I'd say to touch on is with the tenancy stuff, the easiest way to not end up at RTB and have all this conflict and make your life a lot easier is to just talk to the tenant. And same as you build your relationship with your past clients, build one with your tenant. Because then that way everyone's on the same page and everyone's cool. Because I think that a lot of the problems that we hear about with tenancies could be easily solved by communication.
Oh,
For the most part, wakes up and decides they're going to put a hole in your wall. They're mad about something. So something happened earlier. Did you not call them back about their fridge that was broken for 4 months? Yeah, they're mad at you now. Okay? So just communicate, go back and forth, and everything will be fine. And then I'm taking care of 88 properties right now. If I was always at the RTB, I'd be pulling my hair out. So just, I guess, be nice. And everything will work out, I promise.
that is such good advice. Oh my God. Isn't that funny how simple it should be, though? Treat others how you want to be treated. That's exactly what we say to our children. Like,
you learn it in grade 4.
Yeah, like, it's not okay to hit, and treat others how you want to be treated. It's not that hard. Yeah. And you're right. And tenants get upset because I feel like a lot of times their landlords don't care. They're like, whatever. Yeah. But if your fridge isn't working or your AC is broken, you're going to be cranky.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Don't treat them like a number. They're a person living in a home. They want it to work.
Yeah. I agree with that. I love that advice. Yeah. If you get ahead of it and actually communicate with people in general, communication as a whole, there'd be so much less conflict in the world as a whole. Like, people just need to learn how to talk to each other.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyways, I thank you so much. There is so much good information that we have chatted about. And I think that everybody who's listened is probably taken home a number of nuggets. I always say if you get one, then that is all that matters. Like, any amount of things that I listen to, if I get one piece of information, that's all that matters to me. So I think that you gave an abundance of knowledge today. So thank you.
Yeah. And thanks for having me on the show. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no worries. And then where people can find you, you have a number of different places on the internet that people can find you, but Hayes Hartwig, easy. You have a very unique name. I'm sure if people Google, they will find you, but you do have your website, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. So if you guys want to hear more from Hayes, you should follow his podcast as well. Subscribe to that. It's called the Bamboo Podcast, I believe you said.
Yeah, it's Bamboo, Vancouver's property management and investment podcast. Easy way to do it.
That's what it stands for?
Huh?
Oh my God, I love that.
Yeah.
So fun. Okay. Yes. So follow your podcast. And then I also just wanted to go to your website. It is hayesrealtor.com. Again, easy peasy for anybody who wants to communicate with you in the future. Thank you again.
Absolutely. And thank you very much for having me on the show. I really appreciate it.
That's a wrap on this episode of Real Estate Real Talk. Whether you're an agent building your business or a buyer or seller trying to get the real story, thanks for being here. If this episode gave you clarity, confidence, or just something to talk about, I'd love for you to follow, rate, and share the show. It helps more people find these conversations. If you have questions or want to connect, head over to SkyleighMcCallum.com or come hang out with me on Instagram. Thanks for listening, and I hope you catch the next episode on Real Estate Real Talk.